Shapes are a fun thing to work with in PowerPoint. I'm just going to start by doing a right click and format my background so I have something to look at. And I can do a picture fill and insert from, well, I haven't tried stock images for backgrounds, but we have a setting called backgrounds. Nice. Or not quite what I had in mind, but anyhow, now we have a background. Okay, so shapes are kind of fun to work with. And this is under both the Home tab, you can see I have shapes, and then Insert tab, I have shapes. Just so you can see that they are the same thing. There we go. And same list. So you can get to it from either side. I'm going to start with callouts because I just did a couple lessons on cartoons and comic strips. Shapes generally have both an inside and outside, so you can change the fill color and you can insert a picture in there. There's all kinds of fun things you can do to insert inside of. But there's also kind of the outline, so you can choose a different color for the inside and the outside. And then there's these resizing buttons. So I call them buttons, little dots. If you choose one on the corner, then of course it resizes 2 dimensions. And if you choose one on the side, it only redefines 1 dimension. But there are also these bubbles that are filled in, buttons that are filled in. And those are for actually changing the shape in some way. So I can move this kind of tail for this call out to a different side, stretch it out, change the shape. And not every shape does that, but it's pretty typical of shapes in PowerPoint to be able to do that. So let's just try out a few others. So we'll go back to Insert and Shapes. Let's try that with pie chart. You notice that there are 2 colored in dots. So we can change the amount of our pie chart that's filled in. We could color this yellow and put them in alternating screens, open, closed, and make our little Pac-Man. Another example. Let's try a lightning bolt. Okay, lightning bolt doesn't have a handle. So I mentioned that not all of them do. So ones that make sense, like here is an object that it makes sense to modify. And I'm not sure what you would really modify in a lightning bolt. So we'll just get rid of that one. If you take a straight up rectangle, again, nothing to modify there. You just have the resizing, reshaping dimensions. However, if you instead choose a rectangle that has the corner pushed in, so this one has buttons on both sides here. So this is meant to remain symmetrical. So I go from a 4-sided figure to a 6-sided figure here. These sides remain parallel. And you may not have realized that you could do the same thing on this side. So I can now turn this into really an 8-sided figure. But again, the opposite corners are meant to stay symmetrical so that those lines remain parallel. So if you've never inserted a shape that has that kind of handle on it, I encourage you to go in there, click on Insert, click on Shapes, look around and experiment and see what you can find, which ones do and which ones do not. This one actually will unroll the ends of the scroll. Kind of fun. And for the most part, a lot of them really are just for fun. Like that's really just a matter of preference. But some of them, like the call out, you can actually arrange your call out in your comic strip to be out of the way. So that one actually has a practical purpose to it. Same thing with the pie chart. If you really need to make a pie chart that looks like a certain ratio, you need it to be 3/4, you can make it 3/4. So some of these are strictly for appearances. Some of them have a very practical nature to them, but many of the shapes, again, have this little handle in there. Just kind of as a bonus here, let me throw out there that if you have a scroll like this, you can also insert a text box and write, and that can be turned to an angle as well. Just threw that one in there as a bonus. So those are shapes and handles within shapes to help you customize them. Just another neat feature that is only in PowerPoint. So those are shapes and some of the ways you can customize them and how some of them have handles for even further customization. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe down below where you will also find a link to my book, all the Microsoft tools you need to transform your classroom, as well as a link to my blog, theotherit.com.